Good morning. Thank you for joining us on KSAT.com. I'm Erica Hernandez, and we are talking CBD today. Today joining me is pharmacist Jorge Escudero. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
And we've gotten a lot of feedback from the stories we've done about CBD. I know you saw the one we had yesterday where you were included on it. So let's just dive right into it with some of the questions that our viewers have been asking. This first one is from Lethia. I hope you're saying your name right. But what is the difference between CBD and hemp oil?
That's actually a really good question to start off with, because there's a lot of confusion regarding hemp oil. Hemp oil, and it depends on how people are marketing, and this is part of the problem right now with CBD. CBD is cannabidiol, and CBD oil is strictly CBD oil. Hemp oil can mean anything, that's the problem. Hemp oil can be CBD oil, or it can be just a moisturizer, like hemp oil like canola oil, or avocado oil, or anything like that. It has very little CBD, no THC, it has hardly any health benefits other than as a moisturizer. So as a hemp oil, you really need to look at the ingredients to see how they're actually marketing. Unfortunately, I think people are recognizing the nomenclature or how what they're calling the products. They're actually saying hemp extract or CBD extract as opposed to hemp oil, because hemp oil is way too broad and it can mean a lot of things. And when people bring me and they tell me hemp oil, I says, without looking at the bottle, it's hard to say what exactly is that, because it could be nothing, which unfortunately can be the case many times, or it could actually be truly a hemp or CBD oil extract, which is something you would like to utilize for your health benefits.
So you would go the CBD route as far as health benefits goes?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. Yes. So I hope that clears that up for some of you, because I know that's a question you probably get often.
Very much so. And as the industry matures and people start developing standardized terms, I think that will become one of the things that will be very beneficial to people, because it's very confusing right now. Mm-hmm. Even for me as a health professional to see that, but I'm actually looking at the bottles and looking at the ingredients, it's hard for me to tell you, because people can call it anything they want, and that's unfortunately what happens today a lot.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next question. This one is from Ray. What's the difference between CBD with sativa, CBD with indica, and CBD with THC?
Okay, that's another great question. CBD, in order to be a legal product, has to come from either industrial hemp or what they call cannabis sativa. Indica typically is the strains you see with street weed, things of that nature. It has high THC counts. The sativa and the industrial hemp are basically high in CBD, and which is normally high in CBD, and that's what you want to see. That's more of the benefits that we're looking for CBD. And you can't take, well, people get said, well, if you take an indica plant and take all the THC out of it and leave CBD, then that's a legal product, and actually it's not. You need to start off with a product that's already been certified to be high in CBD and no more than 0.3% THC, which typically that's not very much.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what is 0.3%?
0.3%, and it's one of the questions today. 0.3% is the best way to do it is 3 parts out of 1,000. So it's 3 parts out of 1,000. It's not very much. That is the legal standard, both at the federal level and now at the state level, which you can have the amount of THC, which is a psychoactive cannabinoid, in a product, it still be considered legal, as 0.3% or less.
Okay, and that's what some CBD that is out there would have as well.
Right, and it's beneficial. THC is not all bad. A small amount of THC, like 0.3% or less, actually is beneficial, and it's shown to be beneficial. All these cannabinoids have their own medicinal properties. We're still determining which is what. There's 120 cannabinoid compounds. Everybody talks about CBD and THC, but there's a bunch of other ones that we probably need to discuss as well.
So when you talk about THC, there's that kind of misconception that I'm going to get high.
Correct.
Is that something that people, I guess, worry about, or that they, think about, or maybe not, that keeps them from buying it?
Well, a couple of things is that with THC, and it's a question I ask for all my patients who come in, you need to understand what you're taking, because if you're in a profession that requires drug testing, where you have a commercial driver license, or if you're concerned about any type of drug testing, say you're on a pain management protocol with a doctor, you don't want to test positive for any illicit substances. THC will test positive over time in any one of those urinalysis, so you have to be careful. You might not test positive in the beginning, but over time, because it's a very small amount, it deposits in your fat cells, and sooner or later you'll develop enough that you'll get a false positive, and you're running the risk. So you really need to go to a THC-free product, which would be the broad spectrum CBD or an isolate. Stay away from the full spectrum, full meaning it contains THC. Once again, no more than 0.3%.
Now, do you recommend, I know because you said because of those drug tests and stuff like that, just staying away from the THA for those that it concerns who may have a CDL license or who may get often drug tested at work?
I would say I wouldn't run the risk, especially if your family's employment and you know financial history is depending on you working. I wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't recommend that, and I'll tell people straight up, if you want to do that, it's up to you. And moreover, just because they say it's THC free, you really need to have what they call a certificate analysis, which basically is a documentation from a third-party laboratory that's tested that product. You match the lot numbers to make sure, does this say THC free or no? Because you'll see 0% THC. And does it have CBD that it's supposed to have? That's another thing you want to check on. And last but not least, on the certificate analysis, you want to make sure it's pesticide free. You want to make sure it's heavy metal free. And you want to make sure the amount of CBD is correct as well as THC.
And where do they get that certificate of analysis? Is that something that you get when you go buy a product, or that they have already?
Ask for one.
Okay.
They should either have access to one. A lot of these products, like products I carry, they actually have a VR code on the box. You can scan it with your phone, and then actually can pull it up off the internet. You can actually see it. You can match the box to that. A lot of other people actually have physical COAs or certificate analysis in the store, where they can also show you. That way you can have a better, you rest your mind as to what exactly you're taking, because if you don't have that, assume the worst and don't take it.
Okay. So now we've been getting a lot of questions on particular ailments. So we're going to kind of go through them one by one. So we're going to start with, first, is CBD good for Parkinson's disease?
Okay. Well, let me first say this. CBD is not FDA approved for anything at this time, and it's not. And I just read today that the FDA is expediting their findings by the end of the summer or early fall. They're going to start letting us know the progress of what they're going to do with CBD. They recognize they have to do with CBD, but as of this moment today, it is not an FDA certified product for any disease process. That being said, there are a lot of conditions, there are a lot of information out there that you can review and see actual studies being done, and they're being done as we speak regarding specific products. And I think one of you said is Parkinson's.
Yes.
Okay. I've seen some really good studies showing that Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, that CBD seems to have a neuroprotective effect. But that being said, is that it protects the brain. Now, it won't cure you from getting Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, but it delays the onset of symptoms. So CBD, what I tell people, is about quality of life. It doesn't cure anything, but it enhances your quality of life, whether it be pain, lack of sleep, anxiety, or depression. Those areas impact your quality of life. By taking CBD, it seems to have a positive impact. So, and there are studies that actually prove that, both in rat models. Also, I've seen it from the World Health Organization. They're actually putting out some data as well. And then there's a lot of data that comes from Israel. Israel is on the forefront of the research and development on cannabis in the world. So whenever you see something that comes from Israel, take a close look at it, because it's usually, they're cutting edge as far as the research and development on cannabis.
Okay, awesome. So we said Parkinson's. Lisa has asked, does CBD help with hot flashes?
You know, I can speak anecdotally, and that means that what people have told me, including my wife, it seemed to help a lot.
Okay.
All right. So I couldn't tell you the exact mechanism as to why it does, but anecdotally, I've had very positive results with people saying it's really helped me with the hot flashes, and it helps with that. And with my wife, and obviously I'm monitoring carefully. I love her dearly, so I'm gonna take care of her. But she has, we were able to get her really modify her medication regimen, and she's quite happy and very pleased with the modulation of the hot flashes.
Awesome. So now we have Susan asking about fibromyalgia pain. I know we talked about this earlier this week. It's a common one, right?
It is. Fibromyalgia is interesting because fibromyalgia is a neuropathic pain, and you can get neuropathic pain from diabetes. You can have it from other conditions, but typically from diabetes, which is rampant, unfortunately, in our culture and our city. And you know, we're Hispanic, we're diabetic. It's the way we eat. Diabetes is part of the deal. Genetics probably as well. As a result, we have a lot of neuropathies. The way you characterize neuropathies are those sharp electrical jolting pains, and it's chronic, okay? As opposed to an acute pain. When you break your arm or you break a finger, you have pain immediately, right? That's an acute pain situation that you need something to kill the pain right away. That's when you take an opioid or something like that to be able to kill the pain immediately, and there's a reason for you to take it. Obviously with opioids, there's a lot of controversy regarding opioids, and a lot of doctors are really reassessing how they prescribe it, and rightfully so. But for acute pain situations, painkillers, opioids work really well. On chronic pain situations, neuropathies, arthritis, things of that nature, it becomes much more difficult. And as a result, they're not recommending analgesic like that. CBD is going to be very helpful there. I'm not going to make any claims, but I have seen quite a few patients, both taking an external or topical preparation as well as an internal preparation, whether it be an oil or capsules, be able to modulate those pains, the fibromyalgia. My wife is a diabetic. She has fibromyalgia, and I'm able to keep hers in check. And the way I know it works really well is because when she doesn't take, say, the topical preparation for 2-3 days for one reason or another, it's a weekend or this, that, and the other, or she forgot it or whatever, she notices the pain coming back.
Okay.
So then she puts it back on, we put it back on, guess what, it goes away. So I'm a believer that in neuropathic pain, fibromyalgia especially, sciatic nerve pains as well, has been very helpful.
Awesome. So I also want to go real quick. One more thing is on chronic migraines. I've seen a lot of people kind of try to test this because there's not really something out there that helps with this yet.
That's correct. And you know, the brain is a very interesting organ, and it's very individualized for everybody. The brain is just something that is not real well understood, obviously, and migraines is a big issue. I have seen some data showing that it seems to be helpful with migraines, and I tell people, I say, I have seen some data, and I've actually seen people, and I've actually had patients tell me that they've actually taken the topical preparations and then they'll rub it on their temples, and it seems to modulate their pain. Now, whether it's psychosomatic or they're thinking it, or does it actually work? Does it matter? The pain goes away.
Exactly.
So, and it doesn't hurt. I'm kind of leaning to it. It seems to be helpful. And, you don't lose anything by giving it a shot.
Okay. So we're going to move on now to a question I thought that was really interesting from Jamie. Has this been tried on children with ADHD, and what is the youngest age it can be used?
All right. This is a sticky one, and let me tell you why. Pediatrics is a whole different ballgame. Kids metabolize and utilize drugs differently than adults, okay? And as a result, what's good for an adult doesn't always good for the child. And there's been some data shows that THC, especially in developing brains, is harmful. Okay, so definitely I would not consider a full spectrum for a child because of those situations, because it seems to show some data. Pediatric, and there's not a lot of good data on that at all. So it's very, very anecdotal, and it's very, yes, it seems to help with ADHD and at what age and whatnot. You got to do with a case by case. I really would like to work with a patient in conjunction with either with their pediatric neurologist or their primary care physician, whoever is prescribing the ADHD medications, working with them on that, as opposed to just say, well, let's experiment and see if this works. I don't advocate not taking your ADHD medications in lieu of CBD. I don't recommend that at all, but I think it does have a role, and it can be helpful as an adjunctive and maybe supplant your ADHD medication. It's hard to say. I have a 23-year-old autistic son, and he is taking CBD, but he's 23 years old.
Exactly.
All right, he's not 7. Or 5.
But that doesn't mean it's out of the realm, though, right?
No,
it's still a
not.
possibility for them to try it.
It is.
Okay.
It is. The parents are the child's best advocate for their health care, and they know their child probably better than anybody else. Obviously, they live with them, so they have to be involved in that decision. I just don't recommend them making the decision by themselves.
Okay.
If they work with a professional, a pharmacist, but preferably either a primary care physician or a pediatric neurologist, and say, hey, this is something I want to look at. How do you feel about that? And this is some doctors are open to it. A lot more doctors are open to it than they used to be. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
And it's as we see now, the evolution of CBD is really changing rapidly, where it went from illegal to that's interesting to I want to try it to now it's being legalized, and it happened within the last
pretty
6 to 8
quickly.
months.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's pretty quickly.
It's moving, and I don't know where it's going now from here.
Yeah.
I mean, will it go to prescription status in the future? Which I hope not, because when that happens, then it limits to what people can, because then it goes on formularies and insurance and stuff like that. Then it becomes a little more problematic for people to actually get it. And that's part of the problem today. But we'll tackle that problem later on if it comes up.
Moving on now, a question from Susan, and one I know we've talked about before as well is, how does CBD interact with other medications that you're already taking?
All right, when you take medications are something foreign to our bodies, and as a result, we break those things down. Okay, and we excrete them. We metabolize those medications in our body. Okay, they typically go one of two ways. They either go through the kidneys or they go through the liver. Okay, and both of those basically filter out these medications. So half the medications that we take, which are very common, like statins and some diabetic medications, some blood pressure medications, will be metabolized through the liver. And what I'll tell people is, picture a funnel. Okay, you have a funnel, and you're putting a fluid on the top, and it's got one little pipe at the bottom, right? So the rate that it comes out doesn't change. It's just the way it is. The diameter of that pipe does not change at all. So as you add more and more stuff to the top, it backs up.
Okay.
So when you do that, the blood levels in the body for certain medications increase, which then triggers side effects. Okay. And let's look at statins. Statins are very notorious for causing muscle pains, aching pains and stuff. It's a very common side effect with statins. And when it builds up to a certain level, you start noticing it in the body, and doctors are usually want to be aware of that. But so, like I said, everything went through the liver, so it backs up. So if you're taking it, you should at least separate it by 3 or 4 hours, so that everything's not taken at the same time, and gives the liver a chance to work its way through excrete these, because the half-life for CBD is about 9 hours.
Okay.
That meaning a half-life, meaning that 50% of what you took has already been either excreted or metabolized out of the body in 9 hours. Okay, that's why you should do twice a day dosing or 3 times a day dosing, depending on how you're metabolizing. And the reason he said, well, 9 hours, there's 24 hours in a day, why not 3 times a day dosing? Well, we spend part of that time sleeping as well. So, twice a day dosing at a minimum is usually pretty good. Now, if you're only taking it to sleep at night, then just take it at night. It makes sense that way. It helps you at night to be able to fall asleep and go to sleep, then it works out much better. But if you're taking it for a condition that's systemic, that's throughout your body, whether it be anxiety, pains throughout your body, arthritis, maybe some of these autoimmune diseases, Crohn's, things like that, where it shows MS, then you should probably stick to a schedule of at least twice a day, if not 3 times a day dosing.
And that's why it's so important. I know we've talked about this, you said about teamwork, getting with your doctor, getting with a pharmacist, and making sure that what you're getting is working. Not only that, but that it's not harming you either.
Correct. One of the things that people I really advocating to my patients is that I want you to start journalizing. In other words, when you write down what you took today, what time you took it, and how you feel, so that we can actually modulate your doses appropriately. If you're not getting the response you're looking for after 2 or 3 days, then we can make an adjustment. But it's good for me or for you to go back and say, hey, this is what happened, and this is what's going on, and that way we can have a good record of how you're actually processing the CBD, and is it giving you the effects you're looking for, so we have a plan going forward.
So another question we saw often was, what ingredients should you look out for when you're actually there buying CBD? Is there something specific that's on there that it shouldn't be on there, or that you should stay away from, or what is on that ingredient list?
All right. CBD, okay, obviously CBD, you'll see the CBD on there, but I've seen a lot of other preparations. They put turmeric, they put melatonin, they put all kinds of other combinations of. I'm not saying they don't work, but they're usually very expensive.
Okay.
And my question is, they're relatively inexpensive separately. Why would you want to combine them and pay a whole lot more?
Exactly.
So just be aware that just because they're combined, the turmeric with CBD doesn't mean you're going to get added benefit. I always question those a little bit because I wonder if they're actually getting a value for it. CBD can be expensive. I won't lie to you, it can be expensive. We try to be judicious in how you use it because you don't want to waste it and you don't want to have any ill effects. So as a result, I truly recommend, when you look at the ingredients and you're not sure, ask. And whoever's selling it, they should be knowledgeable enough to tell you what's in it so they can discuss with you if that's something you want to put in your body or not.
And it can be kind of intimidating for someone to go out there looking for CBD because it's just everywhere now.
It is. And, the analogy I tell people, and I said this is the way I look at it. Okay, you have a toothache, all right? Your tooth hurts, it needs to be pulled. All right, so do you go to a dentist or do you go to a carpenter? They both know how to use a pair of pliers and a drill. All right, they both can do it probably, but you probably want to go to the dentist because they know what they're doing. I kind of look at that as a pharmacist. I said, I've had some experience and expertise in this area. I can work with you on this in conjunction with your doctor. I don't want to work against your doctor because that's not to your benefit. What we all want is what's best for the patient. Patient outcomes is paramount. And we have communication and education and training, then usually we have a good outcome.
Now, you're one of the first, if not the first here, pharmacist in town who's gone the CBD route. Do you think this is something more of the industry is going to start to do?
I hope so. I hope so because it's a space that we need to be involved in. It's a space that pharmacists are trained to be in patient care. And we're trained in medications and their effects and dosages and things of that nature. We work with doctors anyways. I chose this specifically because I saw way too many, especially the older population, for lack of a better term, experimenting with CBD, hoping that it works. And it could be detrimental. CBD is not for everybody. And it doesn't cure anything either. I mean, I tell people straight up front, it's not a cure, and it might not be a benefit to you, and it might be harmful to you. But we don't know until we find out what you're taking it for, and do you have symptoms that are at least matched up to where CBD could probably be helpful. I've seen a lot of different things. For example, diabetes. Does CBD work with diabetes? I've seen some data. It's very, very iffy at this point.
Okay.
I don't recommend CBD as a modulation for any medications on diabetes at this time.
Okay.
It's just not there yet. Now, does it have some promise? Yes, but there's very preliminary, not enough for me to say, well, no, I think this is going to be something that's going to help your diabetes. It's hard to say at this point. It's going to take a lot more studies. And as now that it's becoming legal and the studies are coming out, Harvard Medical School, all these different places are now actually doing some good studies. We'll be able to develop good data and then be able to pass that information on to our patients so they can make better informed decisions.
Do you think it'll be much easier to navigate once it becomes FDA regulated?
Yes, I think just like anything else.
Okay.
Yes, I think it will be because there'll be more information. And like I said, people need to take they need to take control of their health care. I mean, you got to be your own advocate of what's best for you, and you know your body better than anybody. So I tell people, tell me what you're feeling, what you're thinking, because I don't know you that well. We just met, and so I have a better idea of where we're going, what we're doing. I said, this is probably not going to be a good idea, or this will be a good idea. To sell you something just because to say something, I don't think is a good idea. And buying it at a gas station or buying it at a barbershop or something like that, those type of impulse, it's not an impulse purchase. You're not buying gum.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just the way I look at it.
And they're not, like you said, they're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
No, they're not, and all the more so, and they can be very harmful. So I don't advocate that, and I'm not saying that everybody's bad out there, and I'm not saying all the products are bad. You just got to be careful. Read the ingredients, ask. If you're not sure, there's not certificate analysis, or you don't feel comfortable, the packaging doesn't look right or whatnot, then don't take it.
Yeah.
Go somewhere that you think you could feel it. You can find that information.
So tell us a little bit more about we've had some questions of people interested about your apothecary and how they can schedule or set up a private consultation. How does that whole process work with you?
The phone still works, so older people still like to use the phone. So they can call and set up an appointment. They can also go online and set up appointments there as well. And frankly, anyway, or they can come in. You know, we have 2 consultation rooms set up. They're separately. I don't like to discuss people's health issues out in the open with there are other people present. It's just not good. One, it's illegal, you know, for HIPAA reasons. So you need to get into an environment where you can do that. Now, I will tell people we do have a form on our website where you can put your medications and put what your concerns are. For example, I have anxiety, I have insomnia, I have this, and these are my list of medications, and I would like to schedule an appointment. Then when you do that, then I actually have an idea of what we were trying to treat, what you're currently on, so then when we get down and do a consultation, because the consultations, you do pay for them.
Okay.
When you do come in, we're not wasting time filling out forms. We're actually getting into what exactly you need.
Okay.
And some people would need that 15 minutes or up to 30 minutes to do that. And then I'll provide you written information that you can then go back to your PCP or your physician and say, this is what I want to do. How do you feel about it? Or are you okay with that or whatnot? Fortunately, I have a few doctors that are actually sending me patients already to do that.
And we talked about that a little bit last night about how more doctors are doing that.
Correct.
This is a big change for the medical field, I feel.
Well, I think doctors are, you know, they're pragmatic about it. They see it's here. By closing your eyes, it's not going to go away. Okay, so might as well deal with it. And what I have, the response I have from most physicians is that, you know, I don't know a whole lot about this. I feel more comfortable if someone like yourself, being a pharmacist, is involved. That way I feel more comfortable sending the patients to you, and then you're giving feedback with me so we can all learn something and we can all work together. The last thing, they don't want somebody to work against them or undo what they're trying to do, because it's not beneficial to the patient. And I agree with that completely. So we want to work, you know, cooperatively with the healthcare community to do these types of things. And just because it does not require a prescription does not mean that it's not without its own dangers. Okay. If you take too much Tylenol, it will kill you. If you take too much aspirin, it will kill you. Okay. If you take Motrin for a long period of time, it'll burn a hole in your stomach. I mean, there are dangers in over-the-counter medications
everything,
as well.
yeah.
So obviously, this is no different. So what I want people to understand is that just because it doesn't require a prescription doesn't mean it's completely safe. That's not true. It might not be safe for you, but it might be safe for them. But we won't know that until we actually get into it, and then I can help you make that decision.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about CBD that we haven't covered that, you know, our viewers should know about?
Well, CBD is here, like I said, and I personally think CBD works well. I use CBD myself. I found it to be very helpful, and I can speak patients knowledgeably. And for the older population, quality of life is everything. Okay, we're living longer. We want to live longer, better lives. So quality of life, if this helps with quality of life, and it's relatively safe, and by safe I'm talking about use, you know, a great product done, you know, made properly. It's sanitary. It's, you know, it's got all the certificates that you need for good manufacturing processes. It comes from a great company and things of that nature. Then it'll be something of benefit to most people, and I found it to be true today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And of course, you can find all this information on our website, ksat.com. We'll have this video, we'll have this Q&A up. Okay, if you have more questions, keep sending them in. We'll send them, we email them to you, and we'll get you some answers if we don't know them or they haven't been answered yet. Thank you for joining us. And again, you can catch all of this and more today on ksat.com.
Thank you.